What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions for their everyday lives, and worked with thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to talk to you about confidence and how important it is that we have confidence in our lives and in our endeavors and in our projects and as we achieve our goals. Now, for me, confidence was a challenge for most of my life. As I've said many times here on this podcast, I was subjected to verbal and physical abuse throughout my life, and it was very, very hard to be confident. Like when someone is talking down to you and someone is literally beating you down and someone is being really aggressive with you, confidence was a real struggle in my life and in my journey. And I remember having an opportunity that really kind of changed my life. And to the degree that I had confidence came from athletics and the fact that I was a talented athlete and people would recognize my talent and compliment my talent and want to be around me because of my talent, want me on their teams because of my talent. But it didn't really penetrate into me. Like I wouldn't describe myself like because I was a successful and talented athlete, I wouldn't say that I was a confident person, but I would say it helped me deal with the difficulties that was going on in my childhood, and it kind of provided some balance. But when confidence like really seeped into me was when I was in college, actually, and I'll never forget this. I was in college, and when I say my confidence was low, I mean like depressed low. I mean like suicidality low. I mean like not believing in yourself and having loads of anxiety kind of low. And I remember taking a history class when I was in college. And the way that I got to this class, so I was living in Massachusetts at the time. My mom had some health issues and the weather in Massachusetts, the winters in Massachusetts are quite severe, and decided that we were going to move from Massachusetts to Texas. Now I was in college already, so I could have stayed in Massachusetts, but I just didn't want to be that far away from my mother. And I wanted kind of a fresh start. There was something about Texas that felt like a fresh start. And it was a time in my life, a big moment for me. And in that season, it was a big moment for me, like in that time. And I was in college taking a history class. And in taking that history class, I remember deciding to move to Texas because I needed that restart and because it scared me. It was one of those things, I did it because it created fear in me. Like that was the guiding principle that caused me to do it, is it scared me. So I decided to do it. And when I got to Texas, I enrolled in Texas Wesleyan University. So shout out to Texas Wesleyan University, and taking a history class. And it was a hard class. It was a difficult class. And I remember thinking like, all right, nobody can do this but you. Like you have to study, you have to focus, you have to pay attention, you have to work at this. There is no dad in Texas yelling at you and calling you names. And I remember thinking it wasn't my fault that I was in the mental situation that I was in. Like that was significantly contributed to by the treatment I was receiving from my father and had received all of my life. So it wasn't my fault that I was in this situation, but it was my responsibility to get out of it. And there was something about this history class in Texas. My dad is not here. There's no one to call me names and nobody hit me. No one's making fun of me. It's just me and this challenge of, can I pass this history class? And I studied and I worked and I studied and I worked and I studied and I worked. I remember going back to my dorm room and my roommate would say like, hey, we're all going to this bar. We're all going to this club, or we're all going to go do this thing. Do you want to come with us? And I was like, nope. And I would stay in my dorm room and I would read and I would study. And history is an interesting thing because it's memorizing names, places, and dates. So it's either you studied and you memorized the names, places, and dates, or you didn't. And I just worked and I studied. And I remember the end of the semester comes and I got an A in that course. And I remember the professor saying to me just how intelligent she thought I was and how much of a joy it was to have me in her class and the way I went about myself throughout that semester. And I can't really explain it except to say I came out of that experience feeling like I could accomplish anything I set my mind to. And that was the beginning of my confidence. That was the beginning of what led to me feeling like I could take on any task and any challenge. And I have to accept those tasks and I have to accept those challenges, even though I was in a difficult space. And I think a lot of that was because of my childhood. That's no excuse. And I have to do whatever's necessary. I have to take responsibility for change. I'm not responsible for the circumstance, but I am responsible for whether or not I change it. So that's really how my confidence started to build. And I want to see if you guys could kind of think for a moment and reflect on what situations in your life started building your confidence. And if you're listening to this podcast and you don't think you have a whole ton of confidence, I want you to look back in your life and find real small successes that were evidence that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. So thanks so much for being here today. This is a super important topic to me. So if you wouldn't mind, please do me a huge favor and share this podcast on your social media platforms or with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also rate this podcast, please, please, please. I really want you guys to show up and rate the podcast and leave feedback. I love listening to your comments, and I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions in their everyday lives, and I've worked with thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to talk to you about confidence and how to apply and use confidence in the real world versus on social media. Because I think a lot of people portray a confident image on social media. A lot of people want to portray one level of an image or another on social media, but being confident in real life is a different ballgame. Like, I was actually just talking to a friend of mine last night about the importance of being confident. And I was saying to them, like, when I have a goal, I don't understand having doubt. Like, I actually don't understand having a goal and doubt simultaneously. Like, my brain does not work that way. Like, that does not connect with me. That does not click with me. And not because I think I'm somehow better or whatever. I just think confidence is, if I have a goal, I'm confident that I can do the things necessary to make that goal become a reality. But it also means I'm confident that I can handle the disappointment of not achieving that goal. And I'm confident that I'll be able to pick myself up and continue to pursue that goal or achieve a new goal. But that's real confidence. Like, arrogance and entitlement is like, I have a goal, so I think I should have it. But confidence is, I have a goal and I'm willing to work as hard as necessary for as long as necessary to make that goal become a reality. And I'm willing to do that for however long to make it happen. That's confidence. And I can deal with life if it just doesn't happen for me. That's confidence. That's like confidence in real life, is having the ability to know that once I have a goal, there's no room for doubt. There's no space for doubt. There's no place for doubt. There's a place for commitment and understanding that I'm confident that I can deal with the disappointment of not achieving the goal in a time frame that I might have had set out for myself. But then there's social media, where people on social media hide behind a keyboard. I have a pretty significant social media presence. And sometimes I can't believe the comments that people leave in my feed. I can't believe the messages that people leave on my post. And I know they would never say that stuff to my face. Like, in my field, I've had several interactions with peers and colleagues of psychotherapists, a couple of people that have been overtly racist behind my back, a couple of people that have said overt racist things behind my back. But then when I see them at a conference, they actively work to avoid me. Like, they say these things in email, and they say these things in social media, and they say these things, but it's like a fake confidence, because like, I'll say these things, but when I'm actually in front of Elliott, when the time has come and I'm actually in front of him and have the opportunity to confront this and an opportunity to address it, and Elliott has brought it to me and he's made it clear that he's upset and Elliott is willing to talk about it, they don't. They actively avoid, or when they're in the conversation, they deny, even though I have screenshots of the horrible thing that people said on social media. And I think we get so wrapped up in our image, we get so wrapped up in how people see us, that we actually don't stop and think, what does real confidence looks like? And real confidence looks like, I can stand behind what I've said, be it good, be it bad, be it whatever. I can stand on what I said. I can stand behind the words that I used. I can live with the choices that I've made. That is real confidence. And we live in a world that is so phony. Like, I can show up how I am, but on social media, people are like, using filters and people are posing for these pictures. There are actually, like, I travel a lot and I see people like sitting in first class seats and taking selfies and then getting up and going to their real seat. And real confidence is I'm willing to walk through this world as my true self. Like, real confidence is I'm willing to be who and what I am at all times. I'm willing to be judged for who I am and not take other people's judgments as if it has to become my reality. That's real confidence, and that's what I want you guys to pursue. So please don't look at the images people portray on social media and think that it's real. Because what we tend to do is we tend to look at somebody else's portrayal and compare it to our current situation. And I want you guys to spend more time just being your true self, falling in love with your true self, and understanding that's where true happiness lives. Thank you so much for being here today. Please do me a super huge favor and share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from this message today. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you listen to your podcast and subscribe, rate the podcast, and leave feedback. I love hearing from the audience. I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions for their everyday lives, and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today we're going to continue this week's theme of talking about confidence. Now, confidence can be a tricky thing. Confidence can be a fragile thing, and literally no one walks around with confidence 24/7, 365 their whole life. All of us have had times and instances where we need our confidence boosted, where someone steps into our lives and impacts the way we think about ourselves, when someone steps into our lives and impacts our confidence. Probably the greatest example of confidence in the world is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is an athlete that just had supreme confidence, which led to supreme competitiveness. But even he grew up not always being confident. He often talks about how his father seemed to always choose his older brother, and that led to him wanting to achieve more. And he struggled with confidence in his early life until one day he went to college and he made a tremendous shot to help his team win the championship. And when he made this shot, that became the moment that he looked back on for the rest of his career. If I could do that, I can be confident. If I can do that, then that means I can achieve the next milestone. If I can do that, that means I can achieve the next accomplishment. And for me, it was the same. Like, my confidence for most of my life in those early years was a real struggle, was a real problem. But I had really special people step into my life to lift me up. I had really special people that at really low moments when I was really struggling with things could step in and see things in me that I did not see in myself. I remember my best friend, growing up, my best friend's name is Kyle. And there were times where I was so low. And Kyle would say things like, I wish that I had some of the things that you have. And he wasn't talking about, the material things, because I didn't have any of those. He was talking about like the intangible stuff, character traits and talents and skill sets and things like that. I remember looking at Kyle and just thinking, why is he saying those things? Like, his life, in my opinion, in my eyes, was perfect. And it was so odd to me that he would say those things as I couldn't see what he saw in myself. The things he was saying, I just couldn't connect to them. I didn't understand why he was saying, I wish I had some of what you had. I just couldn't believe it. He was saying those things to me when I was 13, 14, 15. And I would tell him, like, I think you're crazy. Like, what? But what he was seeing something in me that the low period in my life was not allowing me to see. And it made for struggle. It made my life hard. But there were my friends' words to bolster me up. There were my friends' words to lift my spirit. And as life kind of turned around for me and I started to achieve things and I started to heal some of those wounds and I started to overcome some of those challenges, and I got a degree, which a degree is a degree, but it was a thing that I accomplished. And I got another degree and I started a business and I wrote a book and all these things I started doing. Kyle one day said, see, I told you. And I started thinking, like, you need to have like see I told you friends in your life. You need to have friends that at one period of life see something in you that you don't see, and they believe it so much that they hold on to that belief for an extended period of time. And then when you start proving them right, they have the moment and they say, see, I told you. You know, it's those see, I told you friends that are valuable and important and lift us up and hold us together when we're having difficult moments. And I'm so blessed to have had a see, I told you friend who was there through the journey and was willing to see good things in me when I didn't see them in myself. So just remember, like, nobody is just intrinsically confident every single day of their lives, but the ones who are able to overcome are the ones who have some see I told you friends. So do the best you can at collecting see I told you friends. And what I want to ask you to do is, all of you who recognize you've got some see I told you friends, just thank them. Let them know how much you appreciate that they saw something in you in that moment. Like, that's today's challenge. Is we've all been lucky enough to have someone in our life. Give them the gift of recognizing how amazing they've been and thank them for holding you up. Thanks for being here today. If you wouldn't mind, do me a huge favor and please share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from this message today. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast and subscribe, rate, and leave feedback. I love to hear from you guys, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie. And for over 15 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions for their everyday lives and worked with thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today we're going to talk about how important confidence is in creating change. You know, I woke up this morning, there was a story that broke last night from the National Football League, which is the professional American football league here in the United States. And there's a story broke last night where an African-American coach, a guy by the name of Brian Flores, had been fired. He was the coach of a team called the Miami Dolphins, and he had been fired in spite of having the kind of success in Miami that the team hadn't had for 20 years. And he filed a lawsuit against the National Football League and accuses them of discriminatory hiring and firing practices, among other things. And I woke up this morning and turned on the television, and this has become the biggest news story, you know, in the world right now, or certainly in the United States right now. And I had the opportunity to watch him do an interview. And I just thought, you know, sometimes we think of confidence as being arrogant, or sometimes we think of confidence as being verbose, or confidence as being, you know, this big grand thing. But I watched this person and I thought, I was so touched watching him in these interviews, because confidence can sometimes be quiet and sometimes can be, I can handle what's coming. So this is a man, he files this lawsuit, according to him, because he wants to create change. He wants to make sure that no African-American coaches in the National Football League have to endure the types of unfair treatment that he has had to endure. And he was asked if he thinks he will achieve that. And he said, I don't know, but I had to try. And that's confidence, and that's strength. And when you can draw upon your confidence and your strength, you're capable of doing things that perhaps you wouldn't have thought you could do once before. He doesn't know whether this action is going to create change. He is aware that he is risking his entire professional football coaching career, but he knows, I have to do this and I can handle the consequences, be they positive or be they negative. I can handle them. It was so personally touching to me because I can remember when I was in a situation similar to this about a decade ago, when there was a very prominent professional organization in the solution-focused brief therapy field that in the history of the organization had never had a Black person on the board, had never had a Black person on the research committee, and had never honored the Black person with the privilege of doing a keynote or a closing lecture at any of their conferences. And this is a conference that has existed for a decade. And we're talking about dozens and dozens of people that have sat on the board of this organization, dozens and dozens of people that have sat on the research committee. And when I entered into the field, it was very clear to me that I was allowed to give a workshop at the conferences, and I was allowed to attend the conferences, but I was not allowed to be a participant at the executive level of this organization. So in 2011, I wrote an email knowing that that email could potentially end my professional speaking career. In 2011, I wrote an email knowing that I may never give another workshop again because I was accusing them of discriminatory practices in the way they bring people into their organization. And to be honest, it was a really hard decision. And to be honest, it was a really difficult moment. So when I was watching Brian Flores this morning, I was thinking about me sitting in a hotel room in Dallas, Texas, writing this email and hitting send, knowing I might have just hit send on an email that would end my career. Now, 10 years later, I'm the biggest name in the solution-focused approach, and I have the biggest following and the most influence and all those things. But in that moment, I didn't know what the future was going to hold. I just knew I couldn't take this anymore, and I didn't want anybody else to have to endure these practices any further. I think sometimes what people miss is sometimes the numbers highlight the problem more than the practices. What I mean is, if you've been in an organization for 10 years and have never had a Black person associated with your organization at the executive level, don't talk to me about diversity and don't talk to me about how important diversity is, because it's not. Because the data dictates that it's not. So I want you guys to remember that it's hard sometimes. Sometimes confidence puts you in situations where you have to make really, really hard decisions. And I admire the people capable of doing it, because I'm one of the few that recognizes what that's like and how to take that risk. And I want you guys to think about that today. That's what I want you to think about. I'm sure you've seen this story. When you turn on the television, you can't avoid it. When you turn on the television, you can't escape it. But just kind of watch for the confidence and the strength it requires to just tell the truth sometimes. So thanks so much for being here today. This is a super important topic to me. So if you wouldn't mind, please do me a huge favor and share this podcast on your social media platforms, or with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, rate this podcast, please, please, please. I really want you guys to show up and rate the podcast and leave feedback. I love listening to your comments, and I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions for their everyday lives, and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to continue talking about this week's theme, which is confidence. And I want you to be able to cultivate, harness, and deploy your confidence at any time and at any moment when you need it. And I want to share a lesson with you about confidence that I think is the most profound and the most freeing idea about confidence you could possibly know. And confidence is something that you can build. Confidence is something that you can harness. Confidence is something that at one point in your life, you may not have it, but that's not static. You can actually evolve, grow, and do things in your life that increase confidence. By trade, I'm a psychotherapist. And one day in the very early part in my career, in fact, this might have been the very first conference I went to, but there was a keynote presenter, a guy by the name of Michael White. Now, Michael White in the psychotherapy field is quite well known, or was quite well known. He passed away. And he developed something called narrative therapy. And I was listening to Michael White talk, and he was doing this presentation and sharing his brilliance with the audience. And somebody asked him how he helps clients who have low confidence and how he helps clients who don't believe in themselves. And he said, when I'm working with a client who has low confidence, it's not about me convincing them that they're confident. It's about me reminding them who they really are. And he gave an analogy. He said, when somebody comes to my office and they're stuck at a point in the road because there's a big boulder in front of them. I don't have to convince them that they can get over or around the current boulder. Instead, I have to tell them to look behind them and see how they've gotten through other situations like this. Look behind them and see how they've gotten over and through previous boulders in their lives. And if you think about it, all of us have a history of getting through all of the things that have been thrown at us. I say all the time, every single person on this earth is undefeated when facing their most challenging days. We have all gotten through our most challenging days. We've all gotten through our most challenging moments. We've all gotten through the difficult things we have to face in our past. And if we can remember that, then when we look forward, it gives us an increased ability to get through the hard things that lie ahead of us. But we forget that. And sometimes we think that the challenge is bigger. But trust me, you are bigger than your challenge. Trust me, you are bigger than your problem. Trust me, you are capable of doing so much more than you ever thought was possible. And I want you to always remember that. No matter what challenge lies ahead of you, I want you to always remember that. You know, in my work, I think about my life quite often, and I look around and I cannot believe the situation I find myself in. Work has gone so well. My career has gone way beyond what I ever thought it would. The situation I find myself in professionally is so different than the way my life started. And I could be like, ooh, I'm so lucky. Or I could ask myself, what have I contributed to the way this life has gone? What have I contributed to the way that I have ended up in these situations that are very advantageous for me? I can ask myself, how have I done things to put myself in this situation? People, sometimes we accomplish great things and we attribute it to things that are random, like the universe, or we attribute it to things that are random, like luck. But the truth is, if something good is happening in your life, you need to ask yourself how you help that happen. Like, what is it about me that causes my spouse to stay married to me? Or what is it about my best friend that causes him or her to be in my life? What is it about me that helps me do a good job at the work that I do? That is how you build confidence. That is how you construct the psyche of confidence. That is how you turn what would feel like a weakness and turn it into a strength. That is how you build the type of personality that is resilient and strong and capable of accomplishing anything you set your mind to. Because I promise you, no matter what it is, you are capable of doing it and so much more, but you have to be able to develop the ability to build your confidence. And I want you to always know that your confidence is buildable, and the evidence of how amazing you are is in your past if you can train yourself to look behind you for how you've accomplished and or gotten through all of the things that you have. Thanks so much for being here today. Please do me a huge favor and share this podcast on your social media platforms or with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you consume your podcast and rate this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, leave feedback for this podcast, and I will see you on Monday.